Hi there.
Hey, Cameron.
How are you, Amy? Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good, good. I saw you yesterday, and right as I was hopping on to test, you and another gentleman were hopping off.
Oh, to test in the platform.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, Ed
mm-hmm.
and I happened to be in there at the same time,
Oh, was
and
that it? Okay.
yeah, it worked out to uh, that we could see somebody because it sounds like a lot of people jumped in and there was nobody there, so it felt a little lonely.
It did. It did. It did.
But the platform seems to work pretty well and pretty easy to navigate, so I'm happy with that. Is it?
Yeah, it reminds me of the WOVA platform that I was on one event for.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
WOVA?
WOVA, yes.
How do you spell that?
WHOVA.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of the new thing, I
Isn't
think, how to
it?
do virtual conferences really well. We did one in February through Zoom, and I think we managed to make it work, but this is definitely a little more professional, that's for sure. Plus, in the reception and in the stage, or I think it was in the stage, they played music.
Nice.
I asked him specifically for that, Lori. I'm like, I need some music. Can you play some music? But he can't play it while I'm like, talking and whatnot. So, all right, fine.
Yeah, yeah.
We get a little. So for those of you that have joined the room, if you could share your audio and video so you could join the conversation. Otherwise, you're just kind of creeper stalkers and just checking us out kind of thing. But you know what? If that's what you want to be today, that's okay too. We're cool with that. But I really love having people engaged in the conversation, and this is a roundtable. So if you choose the share your audio and video button, that will allow us to bring you up here. And there is a section where you can test. If you haven't tested that yet, you can test to make sure your speakers and your microphone is working. So if you are in there, if you could please join, that would be super duper. So this topic is the benefit of pre-apprenticeship programming to registered apprenticeship. And I got to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about this. This is why we brought in Cameron. Cameron knows about this stuff. And so we definitely wanted to bring some individuals that had some more knowledge. And she was gracious enough to help us out with that. Because, yeah, apprenticeships aren't in my area. I know of them, and I know they're a really powerful tool, and I know they're extremely helpful to a lot of organizations. Cameron, can you kind of tell us a little bit about your experience with apprenticeships and some of your perspectives?
Sure, sure. So apprenticeships have been around for 85 years, and kind of the preface for this topic, this agenda item, is the National Apprenticeship Act is going through a change. It has not gone through a change since 1937. So it was now time to include both not only registering apprenticeships through the Department of Labor, but also youth apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships as a means for them to also have standards and guidelines and see benefits, and also be eligible for all the grant funding as well. Pre-apprenticeships are the stepping stones into a direct registered apprenticeship program. So it was a lot of legislators got together, and the bill is at the House, and I believe it passed. And I heard it took effect October 1st. I haven't heard like official announcement of that, but I think we'll see some movement towards additional funding and grant to support youth apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships, just as we're seeing the amount of funding that supports registered apprenticeships.
So Cameron, are you saying that the state implemented something and didn't tell us that they implemented it? This information. Really? No details. Huh. All right. Cool. So Linda, thanks for joining on camera. Really appreciate it. Anybody else that's out there and would like to join the conversation, that would be great. You just got to click on your little button and we'll bring you up. So Cameron, you've got some topics on the changes that I think that you were going to be able to share with us and kind of bring up for conversation.
So yeah, I just had some conversation starters. I'd love to hear what everyone's thoughts is about, what is a pre-apprenticeship? What do people have? What have people experienced between an apprenticeship, a co-op, and an internship? And just kind of, listen to people's thoughts and what they're implementing at their colleges or organizations or universities even. Don't know if we have any from.
Does anybody have pre-apprenticeship programs? Patrick? Linda's like, no. Patrick said, Patrick, you got everything. Of course you do.
I know. Yeah. Is it the MAT Plus program, Patrick? I'd love to hear more. So.
Oh, no, but you got me hot on the trail to find that latest release of the updates. So I'm looking for that right now.
Yeah.
Do you have a link or anything that you could share?
Let me put it in I forget the House bill, the name, House of Representatives. I think it's 477. I'll have to find it, but yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
So I know that we have, as robust as we can with I think at this point, one person apprenticeship team. We'll put team in quotation marks. And I know she is run pretty ragged with managing all of it. But pre-apprenticeship is kind of a new concept for me. And is that more is it more akin to some of those foundational skill sets that we're hoping, some of the career readiness, 21st century skill kind of things? And is it targeted to a particular apprenticeship industry? Is it customized at all for that? Or those generalized and then we split them up into their apprenticeships?
I mean, either or. It's based on, coming up with a vetted curriculum that's approved by, it could be, industry or your advisory committee for that particular program area. What OCC has done is what a lot of the other colleges rolled out was the foundational 3 courses that were instituted within the Industrial Readiness Curriculum Program, the IRCP. So it's, every college was, I see Patrick shaking his head. So it really came from the UAW. They are putting on a heavy amount of apprentices at their plants, and they needed a more up-to-date, vetted system of putting apprentices, bringing apprentices from the factory floor onto a registered apprenticeship and making it equal and ethical. And this was a measure that Comm put together, this curriculum. I don't know if Patrick wants to speak. The IRCP and several colleges were asked to roll out this program to meet the different board plants around their area and offer this training. And a lot of other employers liked this process as well because it was the foundational skills that everyone kind of needs to know to work in the skilled trades industry, or like to say professional occupations. So blueprint reading, algebra, geometry, fractions, decimals, how to read a ruler, trade prep related training. What does a caliper look like? What does a micrometer look like? What does a rotary table look like? Touching and feeling.
So foundational technical skills.
Yes.
Not foundational workplace readiness or 21st century. It's foundational technical.
It is, but then in our program at OCC, we also embedded the soft skills, resume writing, industry tours, mock interviewing component. And now we're also looking to add on another hands-on component in quality and measuring. Because we're seeing a lot of industry demand for people that need to, when they make the part, they need people to inspect it, and quality Q&A is up there. Every organization, industry out there has a Q&A department.
So Cameron, I have a question. So I think a lot of us probably run a lot of those programs, like maybe, separate individual, not tied together. So I know I do. how do you tie that together and then package it as a pre-apprenticeship program? Who do you sell it to? How do you tie that all together?
Sure. So it really starts with your industry, your business and industry, your advisory committee meetings that you have. They get into a room, and I know, like our HVAC advisory committee meeting. I mean, all of them are talking about the latest and greatest certifications, and how do we teach students about this refrigerant and the different kinds of new technology out there with high-end appliances. It's then vetting out, what can colleges do in their curriculum to improve on what industry needs, so that they have that talent when they hire, our students. It starts with, an approved curriculum that you may already have that needs updated, an experience hands-on portion. These are the elements of a quality pre-apprenticeship program. Facilitated entry, we have an application process. We have an interviewing process. They have to have reliable transportation. So it's kind of going through a little bit of the hoops. Increased diversity. We don't discriminate against anyone. We reach several different organizations, for-profit, nonprofit, faith-based. Supportive services. OCC has every college has a great disability services access office that connects with MRS and their Michigan Works offices for any type of barriers. As soon as they go to Michigan Works, they get serviced and screened for eligible supportive services, or if they're youth, WIOA services and youth WIOA, and then partnerships, your industry at the front end, who are looking to hire these students and put them into a direct registered apprenticeship program.
So do you get to self-label it as a pre-apprenticeship program, or does it have to be registered? Or
that's what the Apprenticeship Act is supposed to do. There will be a time when your pre-apprenticeship program, if it meets all these benchmarks, it will be registered with the Department of Labor.
Okay, so interesting. So it is, you do, I hear you saying there's paperwork, Cameron.
Yes,
Paperwork,
standards,
forms, and some stuff you got to go through. And so, as Renee is saying, we have a lot of these courses.
right? You need the curriculum, write out your hands-on training process. What does that look like? And then, vetting that out to employers. Some employers may want more of this in the curriculum, and some employers may want more of, machining, and some might more electrical. So it's hard to bring it all together and meet every employer's demand. So you make it broad enough that it covers that those foundational skills that they're in a pre-apprenticeship program, that they're work ready for an employer, versus those participants that are coming maybe right out of high school, don't know what they want to do.
What are the logistics of those? Is it how long are the pre-apprenticeship programs? Are they, because apprenticeships are multiple years, right? So
Correct. The mainstream is about 220 hours for a pre-apprenticeship program.
Okay. So not small.
No. And typically 80 hours of that is hands-on experience. That's what has been happening across the board with pre-apprenticeship programs. The 220 hours goes towards a registered apprenticeship program, which is typically 8,000 hours. So it's not a whole lot, but it's enough. And then at OCC, with our 3 courses, on the back end, we award academic credit. So in our pre-apprenticeship program, it's five weeks, it's 120 hours. And then we award 8 academic credits. So that goes towards not only a certificate, but associate's degree at OCC as well as if the employer, with an apprenticeship, there's the work process, the on-the-job learning, and the curriculum, the theory, the related training instruction. So, and that's typically about 10 to 12 academic classes, about 32, 36 credits here or there.
How is this different than just a regular academic program then?
As far as the pre-apprenticeship, we're kind of front loading. It's really not. Okay, so I don't know.
I know it's
this can get complex.
Through it with us because it is.
Yeah. So basically, an employer comes to you and they need a CNC machinist. All the colleges have a machining tool program. It's very similar or alike. Most community colleges do. And there are a series of courses that the employer chooses that aligns with their work process. What is that apprenticee doing day to day on the floor, on the job learning? And that should align because they're learning the foundational skills at the community college and then applying what they learned on the job through their employer, through their apprenticeship. And that employer may certainly follow the college's machine tool technology or CNC machinist program. There may be some nuances where they want them to be proficient in Excel spreadsheets or communication or ethics class, safety. That might not be in a machine tool technology prescribed 2-year degree. So they can kind of pick from different course prefixes, if that makes any sense, So
it's almost like a customized academic.
It is. It's customized training plan. Yes.
Just academics, or does sometime non-credit training get blended in?
It can. You can even get crazy. And Patrick, you can get crazy and do college credit, non-credit, and OEM provider. Internal training with the employer if it's an approved curriculum that's been vetted. A lot of employers have their own in-house training, that they have an instructor that has a curriculum that they've purchased and has been vetted, and you just have to show that or document that with the Department of Labor in their apprenticeship agreement. But certainly, yes, an apprenticeship program, the apprenticee can go to Comm, go to Mott, do some non-credit, go to Fanuc and Rochester Hills and do some OEM training. It's the employer customizing their training plan. And the beauty, though, is with registered apprenticeships is the funding that's available for employers. And
I think this pre-apprenticeship program that Cameron's worked really hard on, we've had 3 cohorts so far. And it just keeps getting better and better as we do things. As we all know, the pilot is kind of rough, and then we learn and we adjust. And but she's turning these students into registered apprentices, which is our goal. We have a big push at the college for apprenticeships and such. And so this program gives these students an idea that don't really know the career pathways, what these different things are. They do industry tours. They see, what CNC machining, or am I more interested in robotics or HVAC and things like that. And then she connects them with employers at the end that are looking for apprentices. Then they hire them on as apprenticeships, and then they go through the schooling and work as well. So it's a win-win on both parts.
Patrick, what were you going to say?
They're giving you good information. I mean, I think I don't know if I'm going to have a whole lot to add. In our IRCP is how it all started for us, really, and it's good that Cameron, that you brought that acronym up. That was a lot of work and pain and misery and all of those things go with it as we were kicking through like 2,000 students in weeks. It was just kind of nutty. But we have that pre-apprenticeship program, which includes for us 3 core classes: OSHA 10, shop math, and blueprint reading, GDT. We have it on the credit side as well as on the non-credit side. On the credit side, they use it as a filter just to continuously pump into the apprenticeship program. We now have aligned both of them to be identical, so that no matter what group that comes through, or no matter what source they come from, they can enter into apprentice program very easily. But the domestic 3 came to us with this the UAW and the Domestic 3 came to us with this program and said, we need some essential skills. Students are coming to us and that they don't know how to turn a screwdriver. They don't know the basic fundamental skill sets that are going to be required to enter into an apprentice program. And so can you do this? And so we did that. And so that's been kind of the impetus to really drafting up a pre-apprentice program. I'm sure that has a significant amount of weight when it came to the state changing things. Now, Renee, you asked, how do we package that long term? We include those 3 classes, if you will, as part of our fundamental components in all of our accelerated programs in the engineering and advanced tech area. So that's an absolute requirement. That's part of the process. For us, it's not as long as what you're hearing from Cameron, because we don't, what the UAW came to us for was 80 hours was all that was required. And so that's what we do. And so we package that 80 hours into our, 200 all the way to 544 contact hour programs. And then we still package it as a pre-apprentice, program that's available to clients. And we present it as such. We asked the question, are you finding that the skilled trade knowledge of new employees is pretty low at this point? And they'll all, yes, oh my gosh, they don't know how to do any of these things that, previous generations knew how to do just because they worked with mom, dad on the garage or whatever. Or shop, they participated as shop classes in CTE during high school. So they'll take advantage of those programs. We'll say, well, here's the 3 that are pre-apprentice kind of a program. And if you want to take advantage of the apprenticeship program long-term, you can do this or what have you. And that's how we package that. I don't know if that maybe clarified some things or give you some other insight.
It does. And so I have a question. So we don't really we're heavy manufacturing, but we have 0 apprenticeship programs. Our employers do not. We're just now going to start building one with Michigan Works and the new funding coming down and such. We have employers like, okay, we'll do one person. And they're across the, I'm in the UP. So,
But one is one. One is one.
Exactly. But it's really hard to, change all your programs for one person. So what I was trying to look at is, because our unions are strong, and we have strong apprenticeship, they have strong apprenticeship programs not utilizing us. So I was looking at trying to build a pre-apprenticeship that would put those fundamentals in, that would at least give those students that leg up when they went to apply for more of the union type apprenticeship. Does that make sense?
It does. And what we're talking about pretty much would do that. I mean, these are the fundamental skill sets that a lot of students don't have at this point that we're entering into the apprentice program. So they call it a pre-apprentice program, but Amy, you nailed it on the head. It's just a program. I mean, it's 80 hours. Typically for us, they knock that out in 80 hours, 40 hours a week. So it's 2 weeks, they're done. And so that allows them, though, to have the knowledge to be able to speak to what they're going to enter into in an apprentice program. We've dabbled with the credit and non-credit apprentice kind of format as well. We're heavy. Renee is probably hear me see, my department, we're very, very heavy in manufacturing. My area is engineering and advanced tech. That's what we do. And where Lori, she's coming from the health and public service side. But that's really what we kind of focus in on. And that's, when we talk about apprentice programs, it's really just companies saying, hey, I have this employee, I need to get them upskilled, but I can't let them go for, 14 weeks. So right. It's really just having that ability and ebb and flow to do some on the job and then come and do some training and then go back to the workplace. And then creating that flexibility for companies to be able to upskill or even hire new, and that just doesn't have the skill set.
Because that's what I was thinking, because so someone may not want to be an apprentice, right? They may not want to go to the pipe fitters or become a machine operator, but those basic skills are going to help you, whether, going into, healthcare, maybe not the blueprint reading, but those foundational skills. So why not, in our area, which would make sense, is to develop a program that could go pathway either way, right? Pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship, or upskill, or, entry level. So
Yeah, that program itself actually funnels off into a variety of different of our accelerated. So by all means, if you crafted it enough ways and made it stackable, it could go into all kinds of different areas, like you said, even healthcare and a variety of others. I mean, there's OSHA 10, and that covers quite a bit, with that alone.
all right, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Linda, you got to have something going on at Grand Rapids in this area.
Well, I work exclusively in health. So I work with the health apprenticeships. So at this point, we don't have anything going on for pre-apprenticeship in that area. I'm sure we may elsewhere in the college or in our community, but not in healthcare at this point. And so I'm just kind of listening with that ear of, how would that work? What would be the value? And would that put someone farther ahead to have that additional training or not, given, we have all nonprofit healthcare here at this point and non-union in the Kent County or in our area. So the situation's a little different. So that's why I'm just kind of listening with that ear of, would there be value, that kind of thing, and where would that happen? And so we've done some health boot camp kind of things. That's not quite a pre-apprenticeship, but maybe that's something we could develop. But so
it could be, right?
That's my perspective.
You probably did the boot camp because you identified a gap, right? And it sounds like that's kind of what this pre-apprenticeship is, right? Is addressing a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creating that pipeline for business and industry, because they certainly can't, the post and pray method is not working anymore.
Yeah.
And, they need other avenues to capitalize on. And if colleges can prepare, in a short-term accelerated format, a boot camp or a pre-apprenticeship programs with foundational skills, it saves the employers, about $1,000 per. It gives them a pipeline of students to vet and hire and mentor and put into a direct registered apprenticeship. Lots of benefits if it goes that way. They're typically in advanced manufacturing. They're with the employer for 4+ years. The loyalty is really built in. They're being mentored. That transfer of knowledge from the mentor to the apprenticee. No one can create a more better program for employers and.
Right. Well, we've definitely broken that barrier with the healthcare apprenticeships. We've done several of them here.
Yeah, medical assistant, I know.
Yeah. So Susan has a great question in the chat about, what's the financial model for these pre-apprenticeships? Does the student pay a tuition? Does employer pool their money and fund whoever wants to be in the class? Are these all grant funded? What's that funding model? I echo Susan's as well.
Sure. Ours is a no cost at the moment and will be for the next few years.
Because why? How are you doing
grants? Department, a federal grant that we've written into. Correct.
Patrick, what's yours?
So IRCP was all funded by the employer or the UAW, technically. When it comes to the rest, typically the employers will pick up the bill for that. And then, you can always find, creative ways to braid some funding, whether it be utilization of Michigan New Jobs Training Program, going pro, things like that can help fund that and give some additional monies to the employers. Because, $1,500 from going pro will go over a long way with the pre-apprentice. And then lastly, for those, those programs that we embedded into the other accelerated programs, those are typically funded through a variety of different funding components, whether it be Catalyst, whether it be the new, H-1B grants that's coming out for WIN. There's a number of other grants that are available. So they'd be employer or grant funded.
Yeah, and some even your Michigan Works agencies have different. Well, he spoke to all of them, but yeah, Oakland County also has a state of apprenticeship expansion grant that funds youth apprenticeship programs.
So it sounds like you could potentially, and this speaks to a little bit what Renee was touching on, and Linda, this might work for your area as well. You could develop a program that you could label or get approved as a pre-apprenticeship, but it wouldn't have to be just for pre-apprenticeship. It could also be like almost like a workplace readiness. So you could keep it open to a couple of different audiences, because that's the other thing. What Renee was talking about, like one person, to be able to, I occasionally I run a class for one person, but boy, those are expensive classes. It's not very often, and they pay a heck of a lot of money to make that happen. It's usually a president of an organization or something is like, yeah, I want this skill and I want you to teach it to me on this time frame. I think I've done it twice. So to get that package together of courses, you could market it for a couple of different audiences, but it could be qualified for pre-apprenticeship. Does that work that way, Cameron? Or could it?
It could. I mean, the goal though is the success of a pre-apprenticeship program is to register an apprenticeship, and that's where your standards and your guidance and approval from the feds will come from, is the success of a pre-apprenticeship program to a direct registered apprenticeship. They really want to see that student coming out of a pre-apprenticeship program being hired in a program, mentored, doing the on the job learning, with the foundational learning at a college, or whether it's credit or non-credit or through an OEM provider, because that's how employers can retain and build their workforce internally. That way we won't have a skills gap or a labor shortage, because the benefits and the statistics are there. Every dollar an employer spends on training and apprentices, there's $1. I heard today from North Carolina, there's $1.70 now return on investment. 94% of apprentices that are with an employer in a program for 4 years retain with that employer after they finished a program. We're working on data now that apprentices that finish a 4-year program, looking at how many come back and earn that associate's degree, because they're halfway there. They're more than halfway there. They're going through an apprenticeship program, like I said, 32, 36 credits. We used to have a MACET squared program. These students were earning, 50, 60, 70 credits, a full associate's degree. So that just that certificate or associate's degree of economic mobility, from apprenticeship program. And they can also transfer to a 4-year university. So the pathways are endless.
Susan's got more questions. Susan, I think you should just unmute. I think you should just start talking, friend.
Hi there.
Yeah.
My name is Susan. I haven't met any of you except for Linda. I'm the new Director of Trades Technology Services at Lansing Community College. I've worked with Linda in a previous role with KISD on their Health Career Pathways grant. So now I'm strongly in the trades, and I also come from a employment history of running an apprenticeship program for employers. So I have kind of a broad range of experiences. And so I appreciate the conversation on pre-apprenticeship, because I didn't really understand what the point was of a pre-apprenticeship. And so now I think I have a better idea of what problem it solves. And one of the things that I hear consistently when talking about, getting kids into apprenticeship programs is we just need to find the kids that lived on a farm. And so if this is the alternative to that, I think that's great, because I think the number of kids living on a farm is just a shrinking pool. So with that, I'm wondering if there's like a fun way to talk about pre-apprenticeship, like, you were talking about blueprint reading, but what about just following schematics, like for sort of like a general life skill kind of an approach? Like, is there any of that kind of an opportunity just to make it appealing to a broad range of people, not just those that know that they want to go into a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship? And then I guess my question that I asked was, since pre-apprenticeship does, it has to align to an apprenticeship program, will the apprenticeship standards, when it talks about the selection criteria, prioritize the pre-apprenticeship completers?
Ooh,
I
that
can
is a
do
good
this only
question.
so
Woo, that is a good
fun,
question.
but Cameron, you have to answer the other stuff.
No, the latter I cannot, but it's a great point, and I would love to, ask, our apprenticeship training representatives. There's 4 or 5 in the state. To get their feedback on that. I would not be able to answer that. I don't even think they've really seen the standards and the guidelines, what all it takes yet to register a pre-apprenticeship program.
When I was working on the construction career pathways grant with the state of Michigan for Perkins 5, the construction part to what I did with Linda with healthcare, we were talking with the unions, and we talked about changing their standards so that if the kids completed an industry recognized certificate in high school, that they would be prioritized in the selection criteria for their apprenticeship program. So in the case of the unions in construction, they were open to changing their selection criteria to accommodate an industry recognized credential. And I imagine, they would also be interested in expanding that to pre-apprenticeship. But that's a big conversation. I think that it's going to take meeting with some, associations or something to maybe get that into place.
I agree. I'm not privy to all of this, but I know with the state apprenticeship expansion grant that was awarded to I think it was awarded to the Michigan. I don't think community colleges or higher institutions were eligible for that grant, but they created what's called a RIC, a regional, regional something consortium. And it is supposed to, creates these consortiums with industry and Michigan Works and faith-based organizations, and they look at quality pre-apprenticeship programs. And if it meets the benchmarks, which I don't know what those are, I know what a quality pre-apprenticeship needs, but in the Fed's eyes, I don't know what it takes. But those programs that are given a mark, which is a Michigan Apprenticeship Readiness Certificate, will be deemed quality approved federal pre-apprenticeship programs. And they took the IRCP acronym and changed it to MARC because the state saw value in what the big 3 were doing and kind of renamed it. I just know some little bit of history,
your idea,
not a lot.
I have another question. Is because one of our concerns is how many barriers do you put before a student can get to work, right? How long of an education, how many requirements before they can get to work, and what's really the just answer to that? Because of course, as schools, we want to say you have to have all this before, we want you to have all this, and because we can do it, kind of thing. Is there some kind of a wage parameter that's a best practice, that if you're going to enter an apprenticeship making $20 an hour or something like that, then there's value in the pre-apprenticeship because that pre-requirement, or is there anything like that that's a best practice or something that you all keep in mind? Because quite frankly, putting a pre-apprenticeship requirement in front of a job where they're going to start earning, $14 an hour, is that really the right thing to do? So I wonder if there's some standards out there for that.
Well, actual standards or just
Or
guidelines
thoughts.
that we use.
Thoughts,
We had
yeah.
a conversation in the previous roundtable where people were talking about CNC, and CNC operators come to the table saying, hey, we're going to pay people $13 an hour when Taco Bell is doing 15 plus college, and a bonus. There are certain industries that we find that is a common issue with, and we don't set programs up for any industry that's paying less than well above $15 an hour, or has some entry level 15, but has immediate, opportunities for upward mobility. And that's just a standard that we've taken. And so we've actually gone to, manufacturers in our area and said, you keep pounding us for a program, but I'm not starting a program where I'm going to tell somebody after, 10 weeks or 15 weeks or 16 weeks, they're going to make, $10 an hour, $12 an hour. That's just not, that's not a livable wage in our area, in our region. And that's not, good for anybody long-term. They're going to quit you. They're going to start that job. They're going to immediately go to Taco Bell after they figure it out. And so we have that kind of standard here. So all of our accelerated programs have that ROI for the student, either whether they're paying or not, there's an ROI because the time lost, right? So if they're in our controls tech program, that's a 16-week course, 544 contact hours. Average starting wages at this moment are $20 to $27 an hour. And after 1 year of employment, people are making over $75,000 a year salary plus OT. So that kind of thing is what we're looking for. And we won't even talk to them. We won't even create a program unless there's some sort of advantage like that.
Sure.
So we have an internal policy and we communicate this. Amy, you asked a question, how do you get employers to see it? Well, the pain and misery of not having people to run your plant should be enough to start seeing that, okay, $12 an hour is not going to cut, because we see that often here. I mean, it was good to hear that Northern Michigan seeing $13.25 for a CNC operator, because around here it's like 12. And how do you compete? And that's what we tell them. You're competing with Burger King, man. You got to cut it out and start paying people a livable wage. Otherwise, you're going to close up shop. There's nothing I can tell you.
So you have that standard it's kind of the same standard for something for a pre-apprenticeship as you would for any other program. It's kind of the same standard.
If somebody, employer's already hired somebody and they're going to send them here and they're going to fit the bill. There's probably an investment opportunity there, and they're probably not turning around paying them $12 an hour. There's probably a long-term upward mobility opportunity. And that type of thing is great, but we wouldn't actually create a program without having some higher wage opportunities for anybody. There's no way.
Yeah, we're the same way, but I just wondered if there was a same standard or if there's something different for the pre-apprenticeship. Great. Thank you.
Very cool. Hey, Chris Stevens, did you have something you wanted to add? We got a couple more minutes.
No, not really. Hi, everyone. Thanks. Just listening. Patrick, I was wondering, what college are you from? I'm sorry. I've been in and out trying to, I hate this about virtual because I keep getting pulled away. Wish we were in person.
Yeah, me too. I'm from Macomb Community College.
Oh, okay. You're with Macomb. Okay. Well, it's just nice to see everyone.
It is. This was fascinating. Thank you so much, Cameron, for bringing all the information and the knowledge and sharing in the chat. For those of you interested, Cameron did share a link to the bill. It sounds like this could be a really useful tool in our quest to help get people the skills they need for sustainable wages and long-term employment. Anything else to add, Cameron?
No, just thank you for the dialogue. And yeah, I wish we were in person, and I like hearing and feeding off other people. It just makes it better for all of us.
Agreed. All right. Well, this is the last round table for MACET of the day. We've got a little bit of a break, and then at 12:35, Ken Flowers is going to do a recap and summary. I don't know what he's going to do. And then there are the academic subject-based or department subject-based roundtables that will happen at 12:45. So thank you all. Really appreciate it. I'll probably see many of you tomorrow, hopefully, where I get to kick off and do that a little, I think it was Susan said, and we'll make it a little more fun, hopefully, the kickoff in the morning, although Tracy did amazing this morning. And then we'll end tomorrow with the president's panel. So I think we got some good stuff doing. So thanks to you all, and I hope you have a super duper rest of your day. Bye.